What's up guys, Thomas Alex Norman here, and in this video we are in a forest and we're going to be showing you how to create powerful nature sequences. Again, it's a behind the scenes demonstration, so you guys are literally going to be following me along as I create this video in front of you. We've got about 10 minutes to do this, so let's go. As you see around me right now, it's kind of a forest. There's a lot to film, but to some people it might seem like there's just a bunch of trees. And I'm going to be showing you how to really pay attention to the senses of the experience around you. So how to bring out those sensory experiences to your audience. For example, make them almost smell how it smells, make them almost feel how it feels. And we're gonna be paying attention to that in today's video. So, right now we have a forest in front of me. I'm gonna be filming just a kind of establishing shot. This is what I like to do when I'm in a location. The first thing I wanna do is film something that's gonna establish where we are. Don't wanna start with some super close-up or anything like that. So for example, I'm just gonna film like this, something like in between these trees. We're gonna do a shot that's gonna go, again, left to right, kind of low down, and just kind of get this basis that we are in a forest. Cool, looks good. What I also like to do is, when I'm establishing, is get a close-up. It's always good to cut from a wide to a close. So it might not be literally getting closer, it might be zooming in to an extent. And just do the same thing, the same kind of movement, link those two shots together. And this way we kind of get a nice effect with the trees as well. So I'm gonna go from this tree and kind of reveal from that tree the rest of the forest. That looks pretty cool. So if you cut those together, it instantly gives that nice kind of professional feel to your video. Right now we're going to be looking for some elements. So we're going to kind of enter the forest, if you will. Did a quick scout of the area earlier and we've seen that there's some mushrooms growing out there. Unfortunately, they're not magic, but we're just going to have to do with filming them instead of eating them. So what we're going to do, that was a joke by the way. What we're gonna do is film these here. Rather than filming them, for example, from up here, what you wanna try and transmit is this feeling of what it's like to be there. And from just up there, looking down on something, it's quite hard to even know what it is, let alone feel something from that shot. So by coming down super low, also putting in a bit of zoom on that, what we can do is we can start playing around with the foreground and the background of the shot. So we can kind of get some of this mossy earth in the foreground. You have the mushrooms in the middle ground where it's focused right on them, and you can really play with the bokeh of your shot as well. And what I'm gonna try and do is, rather than just film like that, I'm gonna try and get some of the forest in the background as well by tilting my camera up. So you're including a lot of information in your shot. And once I got the shot I want, this one I might actually just leave it here. So just keep it steady for maybe 5-10 seconds. Sometimes make myself do this because by doing that, it's going to give me a backup. Because I'm going to try a movement shot now. And sometimes movement shots are quite hard to do, and sometimes they just don't work. For whatever reason, maybe your hands weren't steady or things just didn't quite line up. And as a backup, I've got that still shot that I know is going to be really nice. All right, just going to get another one here. Another super close-up of this particular fella who's poking his head up here. And again, gonna do a still shot. Keep that nice and steady. And then again, just in my position a little bit. Maybe we'll get a shot where I'm moving in, dollying into the mushroom here. Like that. The sun is literally coming out right now and it's creating some really nice dappled light on the earth of the forest here. So we're gonna come over this way. What I'm gonna try and do, maybe decrease the exposure slightly on my camera. So you see everything's a bit darker here, but you can see the light on the floor a lot more. And obviously we can play around with that in the color grading in post to bring that out a bit more. But like, there's a really nice highlighted bit on the floor here. And we're gonna move slowly again, left to right here. Looks super nice. You got a little bit of a lens flare going on. Really happy with that. We could try another one going forward here. Maybe go a little bit wider as well. Try and kind of get the whole picture in. This could even be my establishing shot as well, you know? Like, don't get too set on the shots that you're getting and think, oh, that first shot I got was definitely the establishing shot in this whole video. Always adjust as you're going on, and maybe, because this is so much more dramatic than that first shot, because now the sun's come out, we can completely change and decide this is going to be our establishing shot. We're going to kind of introduce the forest this way. So we can actually do another one in that style as well. Do that first style of the establishing shot, nice and wide, a bit of movement. What I really like to do here as well is play with different movement patterns. We're doing a lot of left to right, but it's a nice way to establish a scene in a video as well, is going from backwards to forward, so doing like a dolly motion. And so rather than walking, which will create a lot of shake for you if you don't have a gimbal, you're just doing handheld like I am, what you do instead is tilt back here and then push forward with your back leg, trying to hold the camera as steady as you can. And you got this kind of nice, like, gentle dolly. It's not super obvious, it's not drone-like where we're rushing through the landscape. It's something more like the camera just giving it this slight kind of movement that adds this kind of dynamicness to your shots. Now we're going to be doing a bit more of the playing on this kind of sensory experience. So you got to kind of imagine if you are just in one of those moments where you're just so focused on what's around you, maybe you're feeling super present. What would you do? Maybe you would look up, and you would look up around the trees around you, and we could do a really nice kind of idea as if you're lying on the floor, for example, and you're just looking up at these trees. So rather than filming everything at this level, immediately we're thinking about these different angles, and we can use maybe one tree in specific, kind of basing ourselves on that, but kind of do this spinning motion where we're looking up at what's around us. We're gonna continue looking up a little bit. As you can see over here, we walk a few meters. The sun's hitting this branch of the tree really nicely here, and it's creating this like glimmering effect. So what we can do is do this same kind of effect, maybe crouch down, and just get specifically this branch in the shot, and just play on the light of that branch. And it's almost as if you're kind of lying under that branch and you're looking up at it. What I like to do as well is always play with the sun kind of peeking through these branches, something close to us, and just get that just shining through the branch there. We've got a nice opportunity to kind of establish these treetops as well. This could be an establishing thing. What a really nice tip here is, rather than just getting a shot that's just that, again, playing with that foreground, so we could almost bring in this one here and blur that out in the background. Sorry, blur that out in the foreground, and just have just the edges of that in the frame whilst we get the main treetops here. And again, we could do a tiny bit of camera movement as well, just something really subtle, just coming out from that branch. Looks great. And it's really nice because the sun's hitting them with a yellow light, which goes super nice with that green. What we're gonna do is get a couple more close-ups on the ground here. Just because, like, again, as I said in the beginning, it just looks like a forest, right, with loads of trees. You start paying attention to the details, there's so much to capture just in this area. And whilst we've captured some of the moss and the fungus there's tons of this kind of heather and these different, I'm not a biologist, so I have no idea what they're called, but these kind of lichen type things. For this one, for example, we can try rack focus. So we could start here and just pull the focus of the camera. Again, makes people kind of pay attention to the sensory experience. All right, so we're gonna head back up to the path now. What paths are really good at is providing leading lines. What we've got in front of us is some of this kind of dappled light. This can be a really nice shot walking through. And what you can do is just walk very slowly and try and get it as stable as you can. And in post, we can stabilize this. And hopefully it'll be looking gimbal-like. Other than that, we've got some puddles here. Film into the puddle and maybe just do a little bit of movement. So we just come across another area here where there seems to be loads of young shoots, loads of young trees springing up in this kind of patchwork here. This kind of patchwork of colors in the forest. So we're going to try and capture this as best we can. When you find a nice area like this, for example, it's really useful to think in narratives, these kind of micro narratives in your head. So rather than just thinking, okay, what's the best shot I can get and then leaving it at that, try and use this, think about this as like an individual scene just in itself. So what we might do is, okay, let's introduce it. So let's get a shot where we're going from backwards to forwards, like dollying in. And then once we've got that, that's kind of like establishing just this like scene within the scene, like a micro narrative. This is super spongy here. Look, there's like small mushrooms, there's like pine cones on the ground, and there's this really nice texture of this spongy stuff. We're gonna bring the exposure down just so we can get this beautiful kind of light work pattern here. And we can kind of pull into focus here, become kind of round as well. Looks great. And try one down here. It's almost like these, if you pretend like these trees are big, then it's kind of like this big kind of hill in itself. Then we kind of got the star of this little scene, star of the show, which is this young shoot here in the light right now. And what we can do again, use the light in the foreground to kind of dapple off this tree here. So coming around, starting left to right. Okay, so what we tried to do in that sequence is trying to activate people's senses. Always whilst I was filming that, I was keeping in mind, how do things feel? That's why I was getting so many close-ups there. Like how can I kind of try and transmit to my audience how things feel when they would touch them, or even how things would smell. Trying to kind of get those pine leaves and some of the mushrooms and kind of try and get this earthiness in the video. And in the editing, we can reflect that with the type of music or sound design that we use as well. If you want an entire list of the gear that I use in my videos, hit the link in the description there. That'll take you to the official gear list where you can read about all the gear that I use and also the gear that I would recommend for beginners. It'll also sign you up to my email list where I give free tips and advice straight into your inbox about filmmaking and the related subjects. And I hope you really enjoyed this video. Until next time, keep filming. Bye-bye.